There was a study done in the US back in 1978 at Northwestern University, and they looked at the happiness levels of lottery winners and paraplegics, or people that were paralyzed from the waist down. And they did that to see who was happier over the next year after the event took place. And obviously the lottery winners were happier. Just kidding, they had the same levels of happiness. This is Marked Perspectives, and today we're talking about how lotto and paralysis lead to the same level of happiness. I'm Cam Irvin, lifestyle financial planner and advisor, and this is brought to you by Irvin Wenborn. Let's back up. How on earth can someone that gets paralyzed from an accident be just as happy as somebody who wins millions of dollars? That's crazy. This is called impact bias, and what it means is that people have a common tendency to overestimate how happy or sad an event is going to affect them emotionally. And guess what? It happens all the time. Stress out over something at work, an exam, a deadline, something that somebody said or feels about you, some big, scary event, and it turns into nothing. You might not even remember it because it turned out to be so insignificant. Or think about it on the other side. What about the last time you were looking to buy a car or a big holiday and thought it would be your happily ever after? Well, is it still? This is partly because we have a tendency to focus on the thing that changes, and then we forget about all the things that don't change at all. When thinking about winning the lottery, we imagine that event and all the money that it's going to bring in, but we forget about everything else and how it just really stays the same. Here's some examples. After you win the lottery, you're worth millions of dollars, but you can still have an unpleasant or rude person that you have to deal with in your life. You can get grumpy if you don't get enough sleep. You can get annoyed when you have to sit in traffic, especially if you can afford to take a private jet or helicopter anywhere. And you still have to exercise if you want to stay physically healthy, because your body's fitness doesn't care about how much wealth you have. What's more, there are some serious troubles that lotto winners have, where they end up struggling. And that sounds surprising, but here's some examples of how lottery winners can end up struggling. They often report feeling like they can't complain to anyone because people dismiss their troubles, saying to them things like, yeah, it must be hard being a millionaire. And that might sound small to you, but imagine if you had to live the rest of your life without ever being able to vent or complain to somebody just once in a while. Lotto winners also struggle with little decisions, like should they always pay for a bill when they go out to eat or entertainment with friends or family? Who should they tell and who should they keep it secret from? If they keep a secret, is that going to eat them inside? What should they do with the money? Do they invest it? What's the smart approach? Lotto winners might have a lot more free time on their hands, but that doesn't mean their social group does. It's great if you can go anywhere anytime, but it's still kind of a bummer if all your friends are stuck in jobs from 9 to 5 every day. There's also a breakdown of trust in other people. Anytime a lottery winner makes new friends, they might feel insecure or untrusting. They aren't sure if people are being friendly with them just to get closer to their money or because they actually want a genuine friendship. And also, lotto winners tend to get asked for favors in money all the time. Imagine you have plenty of money, but people keep asking you to give them just a little bit more, over and over again. What if you give the money to one friend, but then you're not comfortable giving it to someone else, and then they find out? And while winning $1 million can make new pleasures available to somebody, it can also make old pleasures seem less enjoyable, which is a bummer. Winning the lotto is a reminder for a lot of people of what money can't buy. Things like youth, time, self-control, self-respect, friendship, love. There are lots of ways having a lot of money all of a sudden can make things uncomfortable. There's another reason that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and it's because of a lack of self-actualization. It's easy for people to tell themselves if only tales, saying things like, I'll be happy when I'm rich, or if I had money, all my problems would go away. But how hard would it be to come to grips with reality when you have all the money but still aren't happy? When faced with something that confronting, who do you blame? Before you won the lotto, you had excuses for not being happy and fulfilled in life. But afterwards, the reasons you used to tell yourself are no longer true. That's a lot of cognitive dissonance to reconcile with. Now let's look at the other side, becoming a paraplegic and dealing with being paralyzed. No one wants that. When a Harvard University study asked people who still had full use of their limbs without any sort of physical disabilities, some people responded that they would rather be dead than never be able to walk again. That's pretty extreme. But what did the data actually show? Well, when people actually suffer a traumatic event, like becoming a paraplegic, their happiness levels are nearly exactly the same 6 months later compared to the day before their accident. I'm going to say that again. People have the same level of happiness from before they were paralyzed compared to afterwards. And that brings up an important question. Why? How on earth is that even possible? The reason is because there are some values that a huge number of humans share in common. These are things like connection, fulfillment, experience, freedom, security, love. And when you're paralyzed, it can become easier to see how great those things are and where they're present in your life. Imagine if you spent more time with your loved ones, had them tend to you in ways that maybe they previously didn't, so you had more quality time together. You shared with them deeper thoughts and views on the world. What if you developed resilience and effective coping mechanisms, focusing on what you could control, set realistic goals, and found purpose in life beyond physical abilities? What about spending less time on menial work and jobs? If you had a positive outlook on life, emphasizing gratitude for what you still have, and find joy in the little victories, personal growth, and the ability to appreciate life's simple pleasures, how'd that sound? Okay, well, now remove the use of your legs or some body parts, and that's effectively what a lot of people are left with. Many paraplegics report those things. In some ways, their values are even more clear, and they enjoy their lives more than they imagine that they would, despite the paralysis or condition. And again, that's the impact bias showing through. This is not to make light of the tragedy of becoming a paraplegic, nor is it advice to say go out and do that. It's not saying that there are losses that don't occur. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate that having tons of money doesn't necessarily solve your problems, and oftentimes it can make things more difficult and complex. If we compare the happiness of lotto winners to paraplegics, we can see that they go in opposite directions at first, but then they reverse and they meet in the middle. That's just how happiness tends to work for humans. We're funny little things. So today's takeaways are pretty simple. If you're waiting to get a big chunk of money to fix your life, stop waiting. You're in charge of your life, and money won't solve those problems. It will just transform the problems you have into new ones. Number 2, many of the things that tend to bring happiness to paraplegics are available to you right now. You can start living your life in the same way by prioritizing things that increase happiness. If you don't know what increases happiness, then we have a video called Happy Money, and that might be of some help. One of the best ways to summarize this thought is, when you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Our goal here at Irvin Winborn is to help people live better lives by improving their decision making, and we do that through a financial lens. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to reach out or share it with someone that you think would also find it interesting or useful. You can find us at our website, email, or on socials.